My name's Carol Maude, and I volunteer for U.S. Fish and Wildlife and for Sea here in Bandon, and I've been doing it for about 3 years. When I first moved here, I didn't know anything about anything on the coast, and I've been able to pick up a lot of really fun information in the last 3 years through volunteering. So I've picked up a few things that I've learned through volunteering that I wanted to share with you, so that you can keep safe and you can learn how to deal with situations that might be a little uncomfortable that you might run into. The first things are to make sure that you're always safe as a volunteer. If you're on the beach, never turn your back on the ocean. Always watch for sneaker waves. Always check your daily tide table, the weather forecast. Know where and if you can get a cell phone signal. There are some places up in Cape Arago at Shore Acres, Simpson Reef Arago, where you can't get a cell phone signal. So it's best to know what the places are that you can, just in case you need to. Also make sure that you are always protected by requiring that there be at least 2 volunteers for Sea at all times. It's nicer if you even have more. Because then somebody can leave if they need to run to the bathroom. It's a good idea to dress in layers for wind and rain protection, to know where the closest restrooms are, to remember to put facial sunscreen on, and to also wear a hat with a strap or a beanie so your hat doesn't blow off. Carry a water bottle and any snacks that you might need, and then to wear your Sea Volunteer vest and name tag. So you'll generally be volunteering in one of 3 locations, Simpson Reef, Coquille Point, or Face Rock. And there's certain protections that are in place at those sites. Any site that you're at that has offshore islands, rocks, reefs, or sea stacks along the Oregon coast, there's 1,853 of them. And they are protected as part of the Oregon Islands National Wildlife Refuge System. These offshore islands, which can be accessible at extreme low tides, are closed to the public at all times, and watercraft must stay 500 feet away. The Coquille Point headland is also part of the National Wildlife Refuge System. And as with the other components of it, you cannot launch drones or land drones in any of those National Wildlife Refuge areas. And at the headlands, dogs must always be on a leash. Drones may not be launched from state park overlooks as well, nor from the beaches at Face Rock, Coquille Point, Bullard's Beach Lighthouse area, and China Creek. And those are state park requirements. And then the protections in place at the Coquille Point Marine Garden between the 11th Street stairs and the 8th Street stairs is that it's closed to harvesting of marine invertebrates, except for a single mussel for bait. And it's also closed to harvesting attached plants and seaweeds. Now, all of these protections that are in place for the protection of wildlife. And the way they affect you as a volunteer is that sometimes when you're out there volunteering, you'll see people doing things that are in conflict with these protections. And it's probably a good idea, if you feel comfortable, to talk to people about what those protections are and what they might want to do to keep from harming wildlife. So I've always found that when you're educating visitors about these restricted activities, it's best to sort of lead them in a direction as opposed to walking up and saying, "You can't do that. That's against the rules." People don't like that. You walk up to somebody who's standing on a rock in the tide pool area, and you know that the surface is covered with aggregating anemones. You run your finger across the top and you make all of those anemones squirt water. And then you look at the person and say, "You know what, can I show you something?" You probably didn't know they were alive, did you? 9 times out of 10 when that happens, the people go, "Oh my God, no, I had no idea," and they jump right off the rock. I've also asked visitors that have been flying drones in areas where they're not supposed to not fly those drones, that they are restricted in that area. And a lot of times they say, well, you know, I want to use this drone. I paid a lot of money for it. And so I've asked them, well, how much did you pay for that drone? And usually they say, oh, $1,500, $2,000, something like that. And then I say, well, you know, part of the problem is that a lot of the birds along here, when they see the drone, they think it's a predator and they're going to attack it. So your drone may very well end up being broken on the beach. Something to think about. There's another place on the headland at Coquille Point where dogs on leash are required, and many times people don't have their dogs on leash. I have personally seen porcupines up in that area. And so sometimes when I ask people to put their dogs on a leash, if they're not really wanting to do that, then sometimes I've said to them, well, you know, I have seen porcupines up here, and if your dog's nosing around in those bushes, it may end up with a face full of quills if you don't have control of that dog. And usually that's enough for them to hook their dog up on a leash. The other thing that's kind of helpful when you talk to people about things that are restricted is to give them an option. Say, you know, you can't fly your drones here, or flying your drones here is restricted, but you can go down to Devil's Kitchen Beach area and you can fly your drone down there. Usually people are really happy to have that option and say, hey, that's great, I'll go do it there. So always avoid confrontations with people, and nobody likes to be told what to do. I know I don't like to be told what to do. So try to think of a different approach when you contact people, either by asking a question or thanking them or giving them options. Saying things like, can I show you something? Or, hey, can you see the seals out there? Did you know the offshore islands are closed to the public? Gee, thanks so much for helping us protect the wildlife. And just a gentle reminder, when you're in the tide pools, take only pictures and leave only footprints. And hey, did you know that you can run your dog off leash closer to the South Jetty or to Face Rock? Just not so much around here when the baby seal pups are out. Please always remember that volunteers are not law enforcement. Don't ever put yourself in a situation where you feel threatened. It's always a good idea that if you see somebody carrying a can of beer and they're obviously intoxicated or impaired, it's best not to approach somebody like that because there probably is going to be a problem. 99% of the people you speak to will thank you for letting them know what the rules are. But when you encounter the folks that are argumentative or aggressive, it is best to just disengage, put your hands up, palms away, and walk away.